I have bad news for everybody about the CIA director position. Senate Intelligence Committee backs Gina Haspel to lead the CIA. Haspel looks all but assured to win confirmation in a vote before the full Senate. Now, I just came off of a segment giving praise to the Democrats for standing together on the issue of net neutrality. Every Democrat in the Senate, every one, said, yeah, we're on the side of net neutrality. So, okay, credit where credit is due. That now passed. You know, that they were able to chip away. They got 3 Republican votes, so now that passed. The Democrats are saving net neutrality, and it got through the Senate. It's probably going to die in the House, and then even if it were to get through the House, Donald Trump will probably kill it. But point is, credit where credit is due, they did the right thing on this issue. That was the good side of the Democrats. Here's the bad side of the Democrats. Here are the 5 Democratic senators, this is from Jeremy Scahill, thus far, who have made it clear they don't give a shit about accountability for torture and instead have announced their support of Gina Haspel for CIA director. Mark Warner, Heidi Heitkamp, Bill Nelson, Joe Manchin, and Joe Donnelly. And I think there was one more Democrat that came out in favor of Haspel since Jeremy Scahill tweeted this. I forget who the other one was, but there are 6 Democrats who support Gina Haspel. By the way, they don't even have every Republican vote. McCain is against her because there's one issue where McCain has been good throughout his career, is the issue of torture, because he was tortured in Vietnam. So he knows how brutal it is and immoral it is and how ineffective it is and all that stuff. McCain's against Haspel. Rand Paul is against Haspel. Now, I hope he doesn't flip at the end like he did on Pompeo and sell out libertarians and civil liberties. And Jeff Flake is against Haspel. Jeff fucking Flake. Jeff fucking smug-face Flake, who rails against Donald Trump but votes with him 90% of the time. He came out against Haspel on this. But there are 6 Democrats who decided, hey, torture? I don't give a shit. I don't care. See, now this is the aspect of the Democrats that is just insufferable and unbearable and makes me despise them with every fiber of my being. Now, I just told you, I'm fair-minded. I'll give them credit where credit is due, like on net neutrality. But what they way too often do is take issues where it's not really debatable, but they come out on the wrong side of the issue. So the Republicans are reliably bad on all this shit. It's an aberration that we have 3 Republicans in the Senate who came out on the proper side of this. But obviously the overwhelming majority of the Republicans are like, yeah, torture, where do I sign up? War crimes, yoo-hoo, yippee-skippy. But the Democrats can't even be united against goddamn war crimes. Listen to me. This is not a debatable issue. Gina Haspel should be in fucking prison. We've gone over the details of what she did. Guys, she ran a CIA black site. She didn't just partake in the torture. She wasn't just a passive observer in the torture, which would be bad enough. She did it. She did the torture. She did the torture. She ran a CIA black site. She did the torture. Her fucking nickname is Bloody Gina. And there's nothing but an entire cottage industry of obfuscation and deflection in the media and among corporate Democrats on this issue, and it's absolutely sickening. They took the torture methods from a communist Chinese manifesto on how to torture. And then they have the nerve to say, like Dick Cheney does all the time, it's not torture, it's enhanced interrogation. You took it from a manual on how to torture. Unbelievable that they're trying to pull the wool over your eyes. And then the bullshit mainstream media has the nerve to go right along with the war criminals and go, it's interrogation is what it is. They did sleep deprivation. They did waterboarding. They did something called hypothermia torture. where they put somebody in a cold cell, they poured water on the person, they came back in the morning, and that person was dead. And by the way, that person was not a terrorist. That person was innocent, as so many of these people are. Especially at Guantanamo Bay, we cut deals with warlords in Afghanistan and Pakistan to send us Al-Qaeda members, and they didn't. They just rounded up their own political enemies and sent them to us, and the idiots in the neocon Bush administration were like, oh, I guess they're terrorists. They do have brown skin, and they are Muslim. And this is why you need due process. You need due process to make sure the government gets it right. How can it be that people who are so skeptical of government when it comes to things like the DMV, all of a sudden they're like, well, I know the government gets it right when it comes to getting terrorists. No, you don't. How are you fully distrusting of government? And then when it comes to capturing people and holding them without a trial, you're like, that's fine by me, man. That's the Republicans. But the Democrats go right along with it. They're going right along with it. Gina Haspel is a war criminal. She did torture. She should be locked up. One of the other forms of torture they did, anal rape torture. They call it rectal hydration, where, oh, sorry, are you thirsty? Here, we'll stick a tube up your ass and pump water in there for you. Or rectal feeding. We're going to mush up food, and then we're going to shove it up your ass, and we're going to feed you that way. They spoke to doctors. Doctors were like, what are you doing? Because, you might be mistaken if you think, I guess there was a necessity for it. There's no fucking necessity for it. That is anal rape torture. That's what that is. Gina Haspel was in charge of doing this torture, running a CIA black site. Her nickname was Bloody Gina. She should be in fucking prison. But not only is she not in prison, she's now effectively getting a promotion. She's getting a promotion. And the people who are supposed to be the opposition party are like, yeah. At least 6 of them are like, yeah, I agree. Let's promote the fucking war criminal. Well, then don't you ever, ever, ever get mad at anybody who refuses to vote for you. Because what'll happen? If the Democrats keep making decisions like this, and they do quite often, well, then the next election comes along, and oh my goodness, look at that. Where'd the Democratic base go? Where'd they go? Well, it turns out when you vote for fucking war criminals and you don't actually resist, you have Mick resistance, people tell you to go fuck yourself. But what'll happen is they'll reliably vote wrong on so many of these issues, and then when you don't show up to vote for them, they shame you. Ah, how dare you? You're going to keep Donald Trump in power? Is that what you're going to do? You're going to keep Donald Trump in power, that monster? Well, you keep fucking rubber stamping his worst picks. So, what does that make you if he's a monster? You're also a monster, and you're the monster's bitch. So, god damn it, get your head out of your ass. How broken does your moral compass have to be to even consider for a split second that Gina Haspel should be the head of the CIA? Mike Pompeo was bad enough. Mike Pompeo said Edward Snowden should be executed. Mike Pompeo was in favor of executing Edward Snowden. That's who that guy is. He was the head of the CIA. Some Democrats voted for him, too. Gina Haspel actually did torture. And some Democrats are like, yep, sounds good to me. You guys are a sick, pathetic, disgusting joke. And you deserve to lose if this is how you're going to vote. What message does this send to the rest of the world? That we don't put our war criminals in jail. We glorify them and make them the head of the CIA. What message does that send to the world? You're not ever allowed to utter another word about human rights and freedom and democracy to the rest of the world if these are the people who you put in top positions of power. Because the rest of the world laughs at you. They go, oh, really? Is that what you're doing? You're fucking protecting freedom and democracy and human rights? Well, why do you have a torturer to head the CIA? A war criminal who's in a top position of authority. What a goddamn joke. And listen, they didn't pick her despite her torture record. They picked her specifically because of her torture record. Donald Trump loves the idea. He bragged about torture on the campaign trail. So guys, these are war criminals we're dealing with. And that's the point. It's so frustrating because this isn't even a debatable one. This isn't hard. This isn't like, oh man, what a tough one. Should I be in favor of the fucking war criminal, torturer, sociopath, maniac to run the CIA, or should I oppose him? No, this is like, are we really having this conversation? This is the dumbest fucking conversation I've ever heard in my life. It's over. It's done. No. The answer is no. So spare me your Mick resistance and all of your shrieking. Democrats love to not run on anything substantive and just speak anti-Trump platitudes. But they're not even delivering on the anti-Trump platitudes. It's one thing to not talk about Medicare for all and free college and a living wage. They're not. But then it's another thing to say, our whole philosophy is we're against this Trump guy. But then 6 of you are in favor of one of his worst picks. So you're not even against him. What the fuck is the point of the resistance if on every issue of substance you cave and you go right along with him? And this is exactly what happens on so many of the issues. What happened with Syria? Remember what happened with Syria? Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi supported Donald Trump. He did an unconstitutional, illegal, offensive strike against the Syrian government, a government that didn't attack us, a government that's fighting Al-Qaeda. We bombed somebody who's fighting Al-Qaeda, and Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi are like, sounds good, I like it. Where do I sound? Where the fuck is your resistance? Where's your goddamn resistance? You don't have a resistance. That's not a resistance. Our top ally, Israel, just slaughtered about 60 peaceful protesters, peaceful Palestinian protesters, and injured about 2,000 of them. There are 0 Israelis dead, 0 Israelis injured, about 60 Palestinians dead, about 2,000 injured. It was a fucking slaughter. And Chuck Schumer releases a statement in support of Donald Trump. It's not just a point, an argument of I disagree with you guys. It's an argument of you're fucking wrong. You're wrong. And you don't have a moral compass. You don't give a shit about human rights. You don't give a shit about justice. You give a shit about getting in power. You're going to do Mick resistance, agree with him on everything of substance, and just try to ride that wave into power. And then when you get into power, you're going to continue the status quo and continue to fuck over the American people. That's the problem. You're not going to fight for the right policies when it comes to the economy. You're not going to fight for the right policies when it comes to foreign policy. You're just going to make anti-Trump noises with your mouth and then go along with him on the worst aspects of everything he's fighting for. And there's a great example of it right here. If you're a Democrat and you're voting for Gina Haspel, fucking shame on you. Shame on you. This is a torturer and a war criminal. She should be in prison, not the head of the CIA. The fact that you even thought for a split second that this was a good idea says everything I need to know about your character. You should be voted out of office immediately. And I just want to make clear so everybody knows. Mark Warner, Heidi Heidkamp, Bill Nelson, Joe Manchin, Joe Donnelly. Remember those names. They're your goddamn enemy.